to get rid of some books, many of which I DNF'd. A lot of this is driven from my chopping block challenge that I did a couple of months ago, where I was purposely reading books that I was kind of like on the bubble with. And as a result of that, I ended up DNFing a ton of them. So a lot of these are DNFs, though I have read a good number of these as well. So overall, I feel good that, you know, I gave most of these at least a try. So let's dive on in, shall we? Okay, let's start with books that I finished that I did not love. Well, I did actually DNF one of these. Okay, sorry. Let me move that to a different category. Okay, so 2 I finished that I did not love. First of all, The Plot by Jean Kampf Korelitz. This is very ambitious, but for me, it didn't really fully come together. So it's kind of like a metatextual take on a mystery thriller. And I appreciate the ambition. I appreciate the vision, but to me, it was just not super successful. Sorry about it. And then book club pick that I did not end up loving was Splendid by Julia Quinn. This is a historical romance. It came out in the mid-90s. I believe that this was her debut, and I just did not like this for a myriad of reasons, including that, where was the line editor? I don't know. Anyway, if you like a Julia Quinn, maybe don't go all the way back, because I don't know that any of us in the book club loved it. But if you want to see a full discussion, you can go check out the video on Amanda's channel, Naughty Librarian. And then I'm also unhauling 2 books, Those Who Leave and Those Who Stay, as well as The Story of a New Name. I actually quite enjoyed My Brilliant Friend, but I don't foresee a world where I'm really super energized to read a full series of books like that. And I also heard from you guys that we never really get like a full resolution to the prologue, or if we do, it's like not a big part of the story. Very bummed about that. So anyway, if I decide I am going to continue in this series, I think I will just get them from the library because they have a gajillion copies. So I'm unhauling these based on enjoying a book, the first book in a series, but not wanting to continue in the series. And then should we just get into all of the DNFs? Let's shall. Okay, the one that I most actively did not enjoy is I Have Some Questions for You by Rebecca Mackay, which I have talked about at length. I feel like people are probably sick of me dogpiling on this book. I think that this is just a book that has been profoundly misserved by its marketing and the way the publisher has chosen to pitch it and sell it. Even without that, I don't know that this is like a great book, but I think it would be a much better received book, at least from this reader, if it had been correctly pitched as literary fiction rather than mystery thriller. So just know that, and if you're still interested, go for it, but don't let the publisher fool you on this one. Also, I hated the writing, so. I actually did enjoy the writing in this next DNF. Last One Out, Shut Off the Lights by Stephanie Swallow. I think if you are looking for a solid literary short story collection about Southern Louisiana life, seems fine. There's nothing wrong with this. I just realized I wasn't enjoying it enough to really feel that committed to finishing it, so I wouldn't talk you out of this. I just don't think it's like a standout, at least to me. Vows of Silence by Jason Barry. I just was not in the mood to read like this kind of story, but it seems well written. It's about 2 priests in the Catholic Church who were abusing children. I would read something else from this author, but I think I would need to do it in audio potentially for me to like fully get into it in the way that I think I would need to make the suffering of reading this worth it. So I'll keep my eye open for an audiobook from this author, but not on this one. And then Karen Slaughter's Girl Forgotten. I did not love the first book in this, though I think the writing in both of them is very good. The first one's called Pieces of Her, and I just wasn't into the mother-daughter dynamic. I would try a different series from this author. I think I probably will eventually, but I just think that this is not a series for me, which is why I DNF'd it. Though I gave a good chunk of reading on that one. I got to page like 150-ish. Death of the Party, by Carolyn Hart, who apparently a ton of people really enjoy. I got a lot of comments from people like, oh, I really enjoy her stuff, but I can see why maybe it didn't work for you. This just ended up being cozier than what my tastes really run to. So, you know, no hard feelings. I just didn't end up being for me. But it does seem to be, it's like isolated, close circle-ish, and if you're into a cozy tone, this might be one you enjoy. Okay, The Aeronauts Win Last. First of all, when I originally originally put this in my wrap TBR, a sequel had not been announced. And I was not aware the sequel had been announced. So I was wrong about that. I eventually penned a comment telling people that I get it. I know I'm wrong about this. So I am aware that there is a sequel to this. And apparently there's also some cat POVs in here. So if that sounds exciting, maybe, you know, there you go. I just was not into the writing. Seems like a lot of people are, more than I was. So you are getting a sequel to this, and you might like the writing more than I did. Malice by John Gwynne was a very constructive DNF for me because I think it helped me come to terms with what my tastes really are as a fantasy reader. So I appreciate that. I did hear from several of you when I DNF this that you think that this is like a much slower book than the subsequent books. So if you can get through this, there's a potential that you might like it better. I think it's perfectly well done. There's nothing, I didn't have like a specific problem with this. It just wasn't entertaining enough for me to continue. And I need something like this to be a high entertainment level for me to be invested enough to keep going. The Extraordinaries by TJ Klune. I thought that this was going to be speculative, and it is, but it doesn't read like it's kind of sci-fi. I thought this was like a superhero kind of story. That is there. I'm not saying that that's like a lie, but the tone or the way it reads is much more YA rom-com. So if you're into that idea and you like the idea, you like TJ Klune's writing, I do like his writing, and I thought there were some really fun, like funny little moments here. This is two boys, so you know, if you're looking for a gay YA rom-com and you're okay with there not being a huge, like as much speculativeness as you might think based on the premise, I could definitely recommend this. It's just not that I don't like YA rom-coms as in general, so this just didn't end up being for me, but I don't think that this one's bad. Happy to take it to the used bookstore and hopefully someone else will scoop it up and enjoy it for what it is in a way that I just didn't. And then Mad as Hell by Dave Itzkoff. I was hoping for more of either like a analysis of the impact of the movie network or something like dishier in terms of a behind the scenes thing. That's just not the tone, but I think that this is a perfectly good version of what it is, which, you know, is like, I'd say like a drier history of how the movie came to be. So if you're invested in that story, I think this could be good. Network is one of my all-time favorite movies, but I just wasn't invested enough in that. Limited Wish by Mark Lawrence. This is a follow-up to, oh god, I forget what the first one's called, but it is a sci-fi time travel-y kind of book that I enjoyed, but I just realized one day I don't have any desire to really continue in the series, so why am I just sort of holding on to this? I just decided, yeah, I guess this isn't a DNF. I should put this more as just like a straight up unhaul. I'm not gonna, it's a series DNF, how about that? I'm just not gonna keep going in the series, so for that reason I'm unhauling this. And if I really want to read it, I think that this is a series that is on Kindle Unlimited, so I could always do that if I so choose. And then The Flip Side by James Bailey. This is, like I think it's supposed to be a rom-com. The dude gets rejected by the person he was proposing to. He thought that they were completely in love, and she just like breaks up with him, and I think says she's been cheating on him when he proposes. So he decides that for a year, he's just gonna let a coin toss make his decisions. I wasn't vibing with the writing and tone of this, which is why I personally just couldn't get into it. Okay, so those were all DNFs. Or I guess I accidentally included just a straight up unhaul. The rest of these I have read and enjoyed, but not enough to keep the book, or I just need the space or whatever. So we'll get into all of these. Okay, Unravel the Dusk by Elizabeth Lim, I enjoyed, but I definitely preferred the first book, which is Spend the Dawn. And I don't see myself rereading this, so for that reason I'm just gonna go ahead and unhaul the second book, but I am holding on to the first book because, I don't know, I could see myself referencing it at some point. Though after a while, if I haven't, it may also get unhauled. Two mass markets that I enjoyed both of these quite a bit, but I don't like mass markets, and eventually I needed the space on the shelf that these were on, so that's why they're getting unhauled. I enjoyed both of these. My Last Duchess, this is about about a dude who's trying to convince this woman to come be his second wife and take care of all of his kids. And it's a historical. I just thought that the tone of this was charming, but like I said, I don't hold on to mass markets. And I actually really enjoyed The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics. It is a story of two ladies falling in love, and one of them is a scientist and the other one is this like beautiful craftsperson, like sewing craftsperson. And it was lovely, but again, mass market, that's why it's going. Louise Penny, I did like a whole discussion about my feelings on this book and the series in general in my May reading wrap up. TLDR, I liked this book up until the ending and then did not love the ending. So I would give this like a 3-star. I'm not mad at it, but I also didn't love it and therefore I'm not holding on to it. I am holding on to The Kingdom of the Blind. That one I'm holding on to, but I'm unhauling The Beautiful Mystery. And then from my Japanese mystery video, I am unhauling 3 of the books I read for it. I didn't hate any of these, but I just didn't like any of these enough to hold on to them. And I really liked this video, by the way. I know it wasn't my most popular, but I really enjoyed making it. So if you haven't checked it out, I recommend it. Confessions by Kane Minato. I would think of this as more horror, and I think if it had been just the first and last chapter as like a novella, I would have loved this. So not mad at it, but not my favorite. Devotion of Suspect X was a page turner. I was having a good enough time while reading it, but I found it pretty forgettable. So that's why I'm unhauling it. And then the Aosawa murders. This is more literary, and I think it was really well written and like thought-provoking. It was a good book. Like I enjoyed this, but again, it just wasn't memorable enough to me to hold on to it. But I do recommend this. I recommend all of the books in that video, by the way. Oh, this is one I don't think I've talked about on here because it just didn't fall into a video. Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. It was fine. I think I gave this like 2 or 2.5 stars. I think it's really long and it didn't work. The length of it didn't work for me. So like, for instance, I won't argue with anyone that Mariana Zapata's books are too long, but her writing is so addictive to me that I don't care and I enjoy how long and meandering they are. And this one I did care, and I didn't really love the way it like, I don't know. There were things I liked and things I didn't like. I think I gave this like 2 or 2.5 stars. It was fine. It passed the time, and I don't quite understand why this one is getting so much hype on Book Talk, but it is a very cute cover, and you know, I guess a hockey romance is a trend right now, so that's fun. Ooh, I liked both of, well, I liked one of these more than the other, but both of these were for my popular Goodreads mystery video. That was also the video I read. I have some questions for you for. The Good Sister by Sally Hepworth is not my kind of thriller or domestic suspense kind of thing. It's not my preferred genre, but I think it was very well written and a good version of what it is. I do have some reservations about some of the like ableism that's potentially in here, so just know that. But I thought the writing was really nice actually, so for that reason, like, thumbs up, but just not impactful enough for me to hold on to it. And then Pretty Things, I think if this was pitched as literary fiction with sort of like a thrillery edge to it, I would probably like it better. I would give like the writing and characterization 4 stars, but the mystery 2. So like a 3-ish star. It was good. I don't have like, not like mad that I read this, but it's just not a favorite. So that's why I'm unhauling it. Oh, and then Madam. I definitely think that I've been holding on to this because I do think it's a good comp title for if you liked Catherine House, and I love the cover. I can't lie about that, but this is not a favorite for me, so I think it's just time to let it go. And so, yeah, if you like the idea of like creepy boarding school, you know, maybe like some Stepford Wives-ish kind of vibes, I think that there's some interesting things to this, but it's not like the most successful version of this kind of story I've seen. So there you go. And then finally 2 graphic novels, well, I guess this is a graphic nonfiction. The Queen of Wands, which is about the illustrator of the original Rider Waite tarot deck. I thought that this was really cool. The art to me is really the standout here, but there's not a lot of like meat on the bones of the story that they're telling. So it just felt a little thin in terms of the biography component. But like I said, I love the art in this, and I appreciate that they are honoring a woman, like kind of like honoring a woman who is often forgotten in a certain piece of art history. So I think that's cool, but just like not the most memorable. And then last but not least, The Low Low Woods by Carmen Maria Machado, and then Danny Tamara Bonvillain. This has a lot of pieces that theoretically I enjoy, but I just didn't know that it all came together the way I was hoping it would. Like, it just wasn't strong enough as a whole versus some of the individual parts. Like, I think that the art is really great. I'm trying to find like a good representative page here. Okay, yeah, here we go. So like, I think some of the art is really beautiful. I think that the themes in this are fantastic and some of the writing, but I don't know that it really was cohesive enough as a story to me. So yeah, not mad I read it, but also I'm not gonna hold on to it. So yeah, those are all the books that I'm unhauling as my like summer unhaul. I have a McKay's trip coming up, which is always the trigger for me to make these videos, and also my bags overfloweth, in part because I'm doing a good job of getting through my physical TBR. I'm doing a good job of that these days. So yeah, let me know if you have thoughts about any of the books that I am taking to the used bookstore. Let me know how your unhauling process is going recently. And yeah, I think that that will do it for me. So with that, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, follow me in the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below. And I think that that will do it. I hope you're having an absolutely lovely day today, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye!